WPG Talk Radio 104.1 presents Ask the Congressman. It's your opportunity to talk directly to Congressman Frank LoBiondo. Call 407-1450. Now, with Congressman Frank LoBiondo, here's Harry Hurley.
Good evening on a very special evening. It is 4 minutes past the hour. I'm Harry Hurley. Congressman Frank LoBiondo is here, and this is another very timely edition of Ask the Congressman. We come your way each month. The program is devoted to giving you the opportunity to pose your questions to Congressman Frank LoBiondo, and this program is brought to you in the interest of the community by Town Square Media Atlantic City. Our president, Mike Rubel, our program director, Chris Coleman, give their best regards, send them along, and we have a lot to cover over the next hour straight ahead. If you have a question for your congressman, 609-407-1450 phone lines are open. You can tweet your questions as well to Congressman LoBiondo at WPG Talk Radio 1450, WPG Talk Radio 104.1 FM using the hashtag WPG Ask the Congressman. 609-407-1450 phone lines are open if you would like to personally pose your question, and you can listen to tonight's program a lot of different ways at 104.1 FM, 1450 AM, 104.9 FM HD2, on our Radio Pup Town Square Media app, and at WPG1450.com. Joining us now is Congressman Frank LoBiondo. Your calls are already queuing up, and we'll get to you in just a little bit. Congressman, big night, just a few hours away from a rather consequential debate. We'll get into that in a little bit. How are you, sir?
Very good, Harry. Thanks for having me on again.
A pleasure. Let's talk about veterans, because I know this is a major focus for you. You had a bill unanimously passed last week that would right a very significant wrong for veterans hired by the FAA. Give us the details and tell us how and why you got involved.
Well, this was an inadvertent omission when a bill was passed last year that allows veterans who have disabilities to take a certain amount of sick leave, and inadvertently veterans that are hired by the FAA were left out of this. So, as soon as it was brought to my attention, it was like, clearly nobody's against this, and there really was not. Clearly, it was an omission in the writing of the bill. You just assumed that all veterans in this category hired by the federal government would come under it. So it was pretty fast-tracked for what normally happens in Washington, and now we just keep our fingers crossed that the Senate will maybe do it by unanimous consent so that we don't have to start over again next year in the new session of Congress if I am fortunate enough to be here for that session.
What a great partner, what a great broadcasting partner Congressman LoBiondo is. He did not correct me on my hosting gaffe. I'm only allowed one per year. We've used it up, and we still got a few months, the whole fourth quarter to go. This is, of course, Ask the Congressman with the United States Congressman Frank LoBiondo. 609-407-1450 phone lines are open, and we're going to prove it right now. It's your opportunity to pose your question to Congressman LoBiondo, and John has the first question. Good evening, John. The Congressman is yours. Go right ahead. Your question.
Good evening. It's an honor to speak with you, Congressman.
Well, thank you.
And thank you very much for everything you do for our vets.
Thank you.
My question I'd like to ask you, I know your original platform when you first were running was to and I was just wondering, is that a possibility? I know that was one of your big items many, many years ago. Is that still a possibility?
You broke up with the beginning part of the question. I didn't hear it, Harry.
Okay, John, start again with the beginning part of your question, please.
Okay, many years ago, your platform was to try to get limits for the Congress.
By the way, John, hold on one second. I know you're on a cell phone now because I hear it, and it really is. Right when you're at the critical point of your question, we can't hear you. Just move a little bit, and the digital cell has a knack of bringing you back and locking you back in. Start one more time. Third time is going to be the charm.
Okay, what I am hoping to get across to you is it possible to get term limits for Congress as you had originally platformed when you first became a congressman?
Okay, it still broke up a bunch, John, but I got it, and I know the congressman got it. Is it still possible, Congressman LoBiondo, to get term limits?
Sure. And anything is possible, and I did support term limits, and we had, I think, if I have to remember correctly, the votes haven't been for a number of years, but every opportunity to vote for term limits, I did. And I would tomorrow if it came up again. And if it applies to the whole Congress of the United States, I think that's how it should be done. And once again, the original votes, I think there was a vote on a 12-year. There might have been a vote on an 8-year. And there hasn't been, I will tell you, there hasn't been much talk in Washington about it that at least I've heard of. Usually there was sort of rallies that were held and things that were ongoing to raise attention to it. But I will tell you what I normally hear is from every opponent when I run that they want the answer to this question, and I'm happy that our caller brought it up because I want to reiterate that if it's for a vote that comes up and if it's for the whole Congress, I absolutely will be voting yes.
And, John, I want to congratulate you. We found you. You are the first person in District 2 that gives a hoot about what you just brought up. So I sincerely, cordially, and respectfully congratulate you. Let me give you my take on term limits, too, Congressman. There was a time where it was just automatic. But a funny thing happened along the way. The American people, I think they've become very sophisticated in their voting. And if they believe a member of Congress has gotten out of touch, well, let's say like a majority leader, Eric Cantor, who was 10 states away on Election Day, laughing with people, probably with a cigar in his right hand, saying how much he was going to win by, and he got smoked on his Election Day. The people, let's not forget, ladies and gentlemen, we the people, we are the greatest instrument of good and the greatest instrument of change and term limits that the world has ever known. We can certainly make term limits a reality anytime we choose, Congressman.
Well, that is true, and you know, you left out some very vivid reminders. Speaker of the House, Jim Wright was, from
John Boehner?
Washington, the state of Washington, because
we're talking about Foley.
Foley,
yeah,
he was defeated, and every 2 years, all 435 seats in the House of Representatives are up for an election. And if you want to choose to return, you go before the voters, you answer questions of the voters, you talk about what you have done, you talk about how you have represented your district, you talk about the votes you have taken and why you, hopefully all members can do this. I certainly feel that I can put the district at the top of the list, put the district before party, put the district before politics, and then the voters make a decision. And that's the American process. So some people want to take exception with that, and you know, this is America; it's a great place. But you've accurately pointed out how it works best, Harry.
We're at 11 minutes past the hour. You're listening to your United States Congressman Frank LoBiondo. The name of the program is Ask the Congressman. We come your way on a monthly basis in the interest of the community, and it affords you your opportunity in the town square, if you will, to have your access to pose your questions. You can do so, as John just did, and as Eric will be doing in just a moment, by dialing us live at 609-407-1450. The Congressman is staying until a few minutes past the top of the hour. Then we'll go to Mark Levin, and at 8 o'clock tonight, the pregame show right here for what I think will be the most consequential debate since 1960. That was the first televised debate exactly 56 years ago tonight. Incredible. And this one means a lot. We'll get the Congressman's take later. We have other items that we want to cover before we get to the debate. But our pregame show is at 8 o'clock. It will be Fox News Channel live right here on WPG. And right at 9 o'clock, the 90-minute uninterrupted debate right here on WPG 104.1 FM, 1450 AM, 104.9 FM HD2, or on any of the digital platforms, WPGTalkRadio.com, or from any smartphone or handheld device, laptop, desktop, iPad, you name it, tablet, at our Radio Pup app. You can listen in perfect digital quality from there. 609-407-1450. Phone lines are open for United States Congressman Frank LoBiondo. Eric, you're on the air with the Congressman. Go right ahead.
Hey, how you doing?
Yes,
hey,
sir.
Congressman, how's it going?
Doing good.
Congressman, I wanted to ask you about Obamacare. Now, I don't have it, but I keep running into people that are, like, laid off from their jobs. Like, I ran into a plumber, for example, and he was collecting unemployment. He was just making his rent, and his Obamacare was like $300 a month. And as soon as he went back to work, his Obamacare jumped up to $900 a month. And he couldn't even afford to make his rent as it was in trying to pay for health care. Is there any way we can get rid of this and get rid of that fine that they're making people pay a fine if they don't have health care?
Well, we have tried, and there is not a week that goes by that I do not get a phone call with a story like yours from either an individual or a small business that is terribly burdened by what this originally called affordable health care, which is anything but. We have tried to the tune of over 50 times, and some of my opponents are mocking me for voting to either repeal it or to change it or to make it better. And the president refuses to, the Democrats refuse to, and the evidence that we continue to see is that the president decides to arbitrarily change the provisions of the law as he goes along. There was, in fact, a lawsuit that was instituted by congressional Republicans, and I believe the status of it is that the courts felt that there is validity in hearing this, that the president has overstepped his bounds. But the problem is that it's going to take a long time, and the only hope is that if Mr. Trump is president, that the law will be repealed and replaced. There are a couple good parts of the law that we want to make sure that we take care of, pre-existing conditions, and there are a couple of other provisions. But the only way to do what you're suggesting we do is if there is a repeal, because the law was intended to help a group of people who truly needed help, but it changed health care for everyone else in America. Many of those people were pretty happy with their plan. So there's a lot riding on what happens this November.
And Eric, before you run, let me see if Congressman LoBiondo has heard what I've been hearing, and if what I'm hearing is without merit, Congressman, swatted away. But I've been hearing that Democrats are quietly right now asking Republicans for their help to fix Obamacare because they acknowledge that it has been an abject failure.
Well,
Eric, I want to ask the Congressman to answer that first, then you come in.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's okay.
Okay.
Well, I think there are some Democrats who feel that way, but let me also remind you, Eric and Harry and our listeners, that the most egregious parts of Obamacare do not take effect till after the president leaves office, and that's by design, where the cost really skyrockets. And if you couple that with insurance companies that are bailing out, saying that they can no longer take this, you're looking at skyrocketing premiums. And I did not believe this before, but I think there are some on the other side of the aisle who see that as their opportunity to push for single payer, which would be a total and complete disaster beyond where we are now, at least from my perspective.
Right. Well, I'll end it with this. They still have charity care also, because I know a painter who was working for somebody, and he was just in the hospital, and they're covering for charity care. So I don't know. The whole thing's a mess, and thank you for your time, Congressman. I'll run.
Eric, thank you, sir. 407-1450, area code 609-407-1450. And we have Dave next. Dave, welcome to Ask the Congressman your question.
Hey, Congressman LoBiondo. This is Dave Cole, your Democratic opponent. How you doing?
Hi.
I'm sure you've heard our campaign. We've raised the issue a number of times with the donations you've taken from Donald Trump. It's $8,500 directly from Trump, and as I'm sure you'll remember, in 1995, there was a memo from Trump executives asking them to donate to your campaign as well because they thought you'd be favorable to the management of the casinos. I just wanted to ask you directly if you would, as Secretary Clinton has done, return the money that Donald Trump gave to your campaign.
Well, Dave, Mr. Trump had 4 casinos in Atlantic City, and the employees of those casinos were the ones who were supporting me, and I'm proud of my record of support for casino employees, my endorsement by Local 54 once again. And it's interesting that of all the topics you could choose to talk about, you choose to be so negative about something that happened so long ago that, you don't have any ideas. You come up with attack after attack after attack, and I wish you good luck. Keep going with it, but you have not denounced Mrs. Clinton on a lot of the things that she's done. So we'll leave it where it is, and the voters will decide whether that's an issue or not.
Hey, Dave, thanks a lot. I invite you anytime you want to come on our program in the morning. But since it's Ask the Congressman, I'm not going to ask you questions, although I wanted to, because there have been a lot of foreign fundraisers for Hillary Clinton. She has been, Congressman, I'm going to bring it up now that he did. He's bringing up, you ought to turn back an American's contribution. She has taken, whether it's the Clinton Global Initiative, Clinton Foundation, all these different scams that she's running, she has taken money from some of the worst actors on the planet who don't believe in women's rights, who rape and brutalize women, don't think women should go to school, women shouldn't drive. This guy's got a lot of chutzpah.
Well, Harry, this is a good example. First, let me congratulate Mr. Cole for running, because I think to get involved is really important. But I think this is an indication to our listeners. The calls that I've gotten on this show and on previous shows about term limits, that's something that Mr. Cole is instigating. And while they tried to mask the calls as being concerned citizens, they really are going after what Mr. Cole feels is an opportunity. The attacks that Mr. Cole has come up with, I mean, there are no ideas. I'm working to try to solve issues in the district for unemployment, trying to solve issues in the districts for our veterans. We're making some progress. So these attacks that come up in this negative campaigning is evidence of what turns people off. So we'll have the voters decide whether these are legitimate issues or not.
20 minutes past the hour. I promise you we're just getting warmed up. So many more important questions for Congressman LoBiondo. I just know from my list of to-do things. And, of course, you can change all of it when you dial in at 609-407-1450. And if you either can't or prefer not to speak directly, feel free to send your question through a number of digital platforms that we have set up for the program. You can tweet your question using the hashtag WPG Ask the Congressman. You can go right to WPGTalkRadio.com and pose your question, and it will come to me in real time, and we will share it with our listeners. 609-407-1450 phone lines are open. We'll be back in just a few minutes. Don't go away. It is Ask the Congressman with United States Congressman Frank LoBiondo.
WPG Talk Radio 104.1 presents Ask the Congressman. It's your opportunity to talk directly to Congressman Frank LoBiondo. Call 407-1450. Now, with Congressman Frank LoBiondo, here's Harry Hurley.
Thank you very much on behalf of Congressman LoBiondo. Welcome back. We're at 25 minutes past the hour. The Congressman is taking your phone calls, your tweets, your emails at a variety of different platforms that we have here at WPG Talk Radio 104.1 FM and 1450 AM. You can tweet your question using the hashtag WPG Ask the Congressman. We'll get to your questions as quickly as we can. We're going to go back to your phone calls. Doug has been holding the longest. Al is on deck. Doug, welcome to the program. You're on the air with Congressman Frank LoBiondo. Good evening.
Good evening. Congressman LoBiondo, Doug Taylor here. I'm calling in reference to Trump and making America great again, and you being part of the Republican Party that hopefully will be backing him. Right now, under GSA contracts and the federal government, they buy all their goods. I mean, they can buy their goods from overseas. I don't understand why we have to compete for our own tax dollars to resell to the government, to our government, and I don't know what you can do. I know there's the Berry Amendment, but it only covers a portion of some of the things that are sold to the federal government. But it'd be a big help if we got some of our tax dollars back by telling the government agencies that are out there, including DOD, excuse me, sir, that they should buy from, or they have to buy from American companies if it's a U.S. contract. Your comments on that, sir?
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right, and I am one of the, I'd like to think, very strongest supporters of the Buy American. We've made some progress. Unfortunately, when the House of Representatives has attempted to strengthen this, there are a few in the Senate, and I'm sorry to say that, Senator McCain is one of the ones who's trying to kill the Berry Amendment. He didn't see anything wrong with military uniforms being made overseas. Oof. And that's the kind of fight that we're in the middle of. So if we're going to do this and strengthen it so that more is bought here in America, the Senate's got to go along with us. And up to this point, they've been a very reluctant partner. But I strongly support what you're saying.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. That's all.
Thanks for checking in, Doug. Appreciate you listening to Ask the Congressman. That's as simple as it is to do. You pick up the phone, you dial 609-407-1450, and we bring you on the air. We don't screen your calls. We ask your first name just so we can, have a nice, polite conversation and transition to let the congressman know the first name of the person that's calling. And Dave was full disclosure, gave out his full name, and that's awesome. That's transparent. Doug, rather, not Dave. Doug. Al, you are on the air with your congressman. Go right ahead.
Hey, all right, Al here, and Dr. Frank. Mike, how are you? I really appreciate you there, as always. And one of the things I'm worried about is all of the brouhaha and the weak leadership we're having in the United States on the top. I'm concerned about what's happening overseas. We haven't really had much discussion about anything other than ISIS and what's happening in the Middle East. But what's happening in Eastern Europe? Do you have any feeling for how far the Russians might be willing to go before there's a change in the powers that be in Washington?
Well, that's an excellent question, and the answer is, we've had one foreign policy disaster after another, and Eastern Europe is just an example of that. I was asked to travel to Eastern Europe as chair of the CIA subcommittee in August to get a firsthand assessment from our intelligence community there and some of the foreign leaders. And I think the president has completely misread what's happening in Turkey. They have essentially allowed Putin to go unchecked with what he's doing in the Ukraine, and there are several NATO allies that are at great risk. And I think it's very difficult to predict what Putin may be planning, but clearly he has pushed the envelope and there's been no consequence, up to and including shooting an airliner down full of passengers. So people are tending to forget that when you have an individual like Putin and he engages in bad behavior and dangerous behavior, that and he goes unchecked, that he's just going to continue. So I think you can expect Putin to continue to push the envelope. He's doing that in Syria, by the way. It's not Eastern Europe, but it's not just my assessment, but a number of experts, that because President Obama made a clear declaration that there was a red line not to be crossed with chemical and biological weapons, because he stated emphatically that Assad had to go, and when he let both of those go, that's when Putin decided to not just take a role in Syria and the Middle East, but actually send troops and planes and equipment that is propping up Assad and may very well give Assad the edge. So you can look for Putin to do this in the Middle East. You can look for him to do it in Eastern Europe. He's developed some kind of an alliance with Turkey. Turkey's supposed to be a NATO ally. We don't have a real good handle on just what that involves, but I can tell you that it is not good. It bodes very badly for the rest of the world and for the United States.
Well, look, Putin plays chess. He's a Russian, okay? If Putin puts a good force south of Turkey, and he's got places north of the Black Sea, that means that Turkey is suddenly partially surrounded by Russia. And Turkey may not want to stay in NATO, but may move into the Russian sphere. Okay, that's why I read it. And the other thing is, what's happening in the Ukraine? What is happening in Ukraine? Is it possible that Putin's going to convince Turkey not to do anything supporting any kind of military action to defend the Ukraine if Russia goes into the Ukraine? My concern is that we are looking at a shooting war sometime in the next 3 months.
Well, I wouldn't go so far as to say a shooting war in the next 3 months, but I think Putin is going to continue to push the envelope, and if the United States is not providing the leadership that it traditionally does, and NATO continues to be weak-kneed, you can see him continue to push, and he wants to collapse the NATO alliance. I mean, I think that's pretty clear. And he probably has a strategy that he's going to embark upon. And like I said before, you're identifying a very critical area that does not bode well for where we're heading. And whoever the next president is going to have his or her hands really full with trying to straighten out this mess that the current president's leaving us with.
This is true. And you're going to be sitting watching it and helping control the mayhem. Good luck, Congressman.
Thank you, Al. Thanks for the call. 32 minutes past the hour, 609-407-1450. Phone lines are open for Ask the Congressman. With United States Congressman Frank LoBiondo, Mike is next. Hey, good evening, Mike. Thanks for calling in.
Hey, good evening. Thank you, Harry. Hey, Congressman LoBiondo, I just wanted to tell you, I know you're busy and you got your hands involved in everything, but as a parent and a resident of Cape May, I just want to thank you so much for what you do for the Scouts. Every Eagle Scout meeting, you're there. You try to be. You're represented there. And just from the bottom of my heart, I want to thank you so much. My son made an Eagle, and it meant so much for the whole troop for you to show up and just give time to the youth of this county. Thank you very much.
Why? Thank you. I can't say enough about the scouting movement. Congratulations to you as a parent for keeping your son motivated, and to all the scouting leaders and the Scouts. You know, one of my regrets in life is not sticking with scouting. I certainly tell all the Eagle Scouts I talk to that that's the case, and I've also commented a number of times that of all the problems we're facing in Washington, it seems to me that almost all the problems, if not all of them, could be solved by just following the Scout Oath. And can't say enough about scouting and how good it is, and I want to continue to try to support it in every way I can. But thanks so much for your phone call.
Thank you, Mike. I just want to say to Mike, congratulations to your son. Congratulations, as the Congressman said, to you as a parent. And when you think about it, it's not a surefire guarantee, but almost every Eagle Scout that I've ever heard of turns out to be an incredible person in life. And as you know, Congressman, that's not for no reason. They learn survival skills. They learn about what our country is really about. They learn leadership. They learn how to accomplish things. You know, they stay out overnight. They do things that are challenging, and it really builds great life skills and great leadership skills.
Yeah, and they're given a moral compass.
Without a doubt. 609-407-1450. This is not the same Mike. This is a different Mike. You're on the air with your Congressman. Go right ahead, Mike.
Yes, different Mike. Proud Atlantic City resident. I was listening to what you were saying about Ukraine, and I agreed with your assessment. And I wonder how, Congressman, you respond to Trump's comments last month that he felt the majority of Ukrainians wanted Russia there.
Well, I've disagreed with a number of things that Mr. Trump has said, and that being one of them. There certainly is a part of the Ukraine where they have strong ties to Russia, and that may be true in pockets, but I certainly don't think it's true of the entire country, and just add this to the list of things that I disagree with that Trump has said.
Thank you, Mike. Thanks for the call. 609-407-1450. Hey, John, it's your opportunity to ask the Congressman. Go right ahead.
Good evening, Congressman. My name's John. I understand that there's a hearing in Washington concerning some of the banking practices, especially from Wells Fargo. I was going to come into your office to have a question about their retainage of funds. You make a deposit of, this is my own case. I deposited something, and I don't remember the exact number, to say $70,000. They gave me a credit for $400 for that next day and another $600 for the day after that. And I said, well, what happens to the rest of it? Well, we're going to hold those funds for the next 8 days, which was like $68,000 or $69,000 from a mortgage settlement until the check clears. Well, it comes from a title company, and a title company is not going to give you a check unless they've gotten the money from the mortgage company that's doing the financing. So my question is, where does the bank, any bank, and it happens to be Wells Fargo, where do they get the right to hold on to X number of dollars like that for that period of time when Mr. Hurley was in the banking business, you know that it doesn't take 8 days to clear a check. It takes 2 days at the most. So what they're doing, they're actually using that money. They're collecting interest on that money for those 8 days while they have it, and we're not getting any benefit from it.
No, you're absolutely right. And the hearings that you were referring to, I believe, were on the Senate side, and Wells Fargo was grilled, and I think it should go a lot farther than just being grilled. What they did, I think, was clearly illegal, and this practice of holding money. If you call the office, this is probably in the casework file that normally we respect the privacy angle of this. We'll try to get answers of whether there are federal laws which prohibit them from holding money for that long, or is that something that the banking industry can do on institution by institution, which clearly is wrong for all the reasons you pointed out.
I can see holding it for a couple of days to be sure, but 8 days, and mine is only a small amount. Imagine the millions of dollars that are going through the banking system at that same time that are being held. It's called float. And millions of dollars going through this float process that the banks are collecting interest on. They're retaining the interest. They're not giving you any credit for it. And you still have to wait for that 8 days. I had a big bill I had to pay, and I had to make my vendor wait until the bank decided to give me the money.
Because you're figuring these are the equivalent of certified funds that should have cleared overnight, or like you say, within a couple of days. The only thing I will say as a former bank officer, and I'm very rusty, 25 years removed, but I've paid attention to it over the years, there are very sophisticated cheaters. Not that you're one, John. I know you're not. And some of these documents that they present now, with all the printing capabilities and things that exist, they are getting more and more sophisticated at creating frauds that actually take banks longer than a couple of days to make sure that a fraud is not being perpetrated. But on a routine transaction, from a customer that they know, and it is clear that there was a public transaction and that you received from the title company the proceeds of your sale or whatever the case was in your particular situation, it does sound excessive. And appreciate the call, John. Have a great night.
You too. Thank you.
See you now. All right, we're going to take one more phone call, then we have to get a quick break in, and I have a lot of questions for the Congressman as well that we're going to shower you with in the remaining part of the program. We have Isaac joining us now who has a question for Congressman Frank LoBiondo. Isaac, welcome to the program. You're on the air.
Oh, yes. My name is Isaac. I live in Williamstown, and I have a question for the Congressman.
Okay.
Yeah, my question is, what does the Congress, they are there for the people, what does they do to explain things to the public? Because somebody like Donald Trump said, I can do this, without taking, account of what the Congress does. So I want to know, what does the Congress do to let the people know what they are doing and what the president can do, so that we don't make a mistake and go and vote for somebody who doesn't know what is actually happening, and then the whole country get into a quagmire again.
All right, Isaac, are you basically asking the Congressman that there's a president now who takes unilateral action and is subverting the Congress, and what is Congress going to do about that? I think that's what you're saying. Congressman, what are your thoughts to that?
Oh, okay.
Well, I don't think that's what he was saying, Harry.
Okay.
Excuse me for correcting.
Okay.
But that was going to be part of my answer. I think what he was getting at, since he mentioned Donald Trump's name, was that Donald Trump may have indicated or given some the impression that all these things that he would do, and he would do them without Congress, and that would be circumventing Congress. But there are also very public statements that Mr. Trump has made saying that he realizes that whatever his ideas are, he has to work in a bipartisan way to convince Congress that should be voted on, because he and I know I heard him say this, because he does not want to try to do by executive order what President Obama is doing and circumventing Congress, not just by executive orders from the Oval Office, but executive orders by all the agencies, like the EPA and a number of other agencies. So Mrs. Clinton said that she would continue the policies of President Obama. So, Isaac, you might have to assume that Mrs. Clinton would see it okay to do executive orders the way President Obama has on a whole host of issues, which I think has really been subverting the framework of how the United States should run. So you'll have to make up your own mind of whether you think that's the case or not.
And that's why I drilled down on it, because I don't think he could be talking about Trump, because I've only heard Donald Trump say he will respect and work closely with Congress, and he wants to get out of this business of these, executive orders and fiats that are subverting Congress. So I really couldn't take it any other way.
Well, one or two things, Harry, if I could comment. Yeah. I can understand how some voters who are really interested in understanding the process could be confused, because there's a lot of rhetoric, and if you don't listen to everything all of the time, maybe you miss something. But there is also, and I certainly am not implicating that our last caller is in this category, but there's also a concerted effort by the other side to misrepresent what would happen if Mr. Trump would be president. So if you are a voter and you're truly undecided, you're going to have to work pretty hard to cut through all the rhetoric that is coming really from both sides. But I think, as you explained, Harry, it's pretty clear how Mr. Trump feels we should move forward.
That's why I flipped the script, because what he was fearing is happening now. There's no evidence that it would happen in the future under Trump. It's a good question, Isaac. Great answer from your congressman. At 43 minutes past the hour, we're going to take a quick break. We're coming back. There's a lot of your phone calls, and we have a lot of questions that we want to get in so that they're not left on the cutting room floor. We're going to be covering some very important topics in between your calls, such as the recent bombings in New Jersey and New York City, and the Congressman LoBiondo's thoughts with his significant work on intelligence committees and what he does on a daily basis to help protect the homeland. I want to get into that. I want to get into North Jersey, the ballot question for North Jersey casinos. Because they pulled back the marketing campaign, the question is still on the ballot. I want to get into that. I want to get into tonight's debate. I want to get into the FBI that's released more Hillary Clinton emails. We now know that the president used a phony screen name. We know that Cheryl Mills was given immunity from prosecution. This is incredible what's going on right now. It's unprecedented. So much is going on, it's literally becoming almost impossible to catalog it all and keep it straight. That's the problem. You do one whopper and the world can pounce on you. Do 1,000 things wrong and nobody can even remember one. We're going to get the congressman's take on all of this, and we have as many phone calls as the eye can see. We'll do our best with your calls as well. Coming up when we come back with more Ask the Congressman with Congressman Frank LoBiondo on WPG.
WPG Talk Radio 104.1 presents Ask the Congressman. It's your opportunity to talk directly to Congressman Frank LoBiondo. Call 407-1450. Now, with Congressman Frank LoBiondo, here's Harry Hurley.
Welcome back to Ask the Congressman. Your phone calls have literally been on parade tonight. 609-407-1450. Phone lines are open. It's 48 minutes past the hour. A reminder, our pregame show, if you will, Fox News Channel coverage begins at 8 p.m. right here on WPG. You can listen to the pregame show and right at 9 o'clock live from Hofstra University. I know exactly where that is. We were there back in June, right in the very room where this is taking place tonight. It's a wonderful room. It holds about 1,100 people for this kind of focus, and tonight should be epic, has the potential to actually change the course of the election where debates rarely ever do. So we will see. It's going to definitely be well viewed and well listened to between television and radio, and you can catch it all right here at WPG Talk Radio. 104.1 FM or 1450 AM and a host of other digital platforms and so on. We have Terry who is holding on for Congressman LoBiondo. Terry, welcome to the program. You're on the air.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you, Congressman. I have a lot of things I'd like to say, but I'll keep it short.
Thank you.
Do the Clintons have that much power where they can disrupt the Department of Justice, the FBI? I mean, what had happened to me in my eyes and it's my opinion, that's such a travesty of justice where Clinton gets on a plane with them 2 weeks, throughout the weekend, things happened, and she has been covered for. I don't know if she'll ever be prosecuted, but what she has done, destroying evidence, lying to Congress, lying to the FBI, and here she is standing today. And I think that's what's wrong with this country. We've completely, the people of this country, there's a movement. And the people have lost trust, or no, I have lost trust in my government. And I'm a patriot. But what I see going on is the president that lies to us, and they lie to, and they seem to manipulate things and that should never take place in this country, but are taking place. And why is she still standing?
Congressman, what a great question. Why is she still standing? Or she would say the other day, why am I not up 50 points? Nixon's writing a book from the grave. It's titled, See, I Told You So. I'm Not a Crook. Congressman, what are your thoughts, Congressman?
Well, the anger, the frustration, the clarity that most people, or a lot of people at least across the country, see in what's happening is well-founded. I think that the only answer can be that from the highest levels of government, the Attorney General was given the message, or maybe just was signing off. Maybe that was part of the Attorney General getting appointed, that this thing would just be handled the way it is. I mean, document dumps on Friday afternoon,
phony screen names all over the place. Comey, even when he didn't charge her, said that, thousands of documents. Give our listeners an idea, Congressman LoBiondo, what would typically happen. Let's just take one poor civil servant, slob, that just, made one mistake with one document that they took home or had on an iPad or an iPhone or a desktop, one document. What would happen to that person?
Well, I'll give you the example, General Petraeus.
They dropped a hammer.
Here's a guy who was responsible for the success in Iraq before President Obama had that all turned around. And yes, he did make a mistake, but he was hammered. And there aren't flagpoles high enough to hang people from that don't follow the rules. But somehow, anybody believe that Bill Clinton just happened to be on the runway with Loretta Lynch and they talked about grandchildren
and golf?
I mean, please, they really stretch what can be believed and get away with it. So they get away with this one, and they get away with the next one, and the next one, and the next one, and then people are almost desensitized. People are numb and say, "Well, that's just just what happens with the Clintons."
But and Congressman, what the other problem is, though, and this is not partisan. This is the truth. Back in the Nixon era, and this was a bungled break-in. He won 49 states. This was a bungled, stupid break-in and a cover-up over nothing. It was dumb as dirt. And look what they did. But Republicans came to Nixon and said, it's over, Mr. President. You're going to be impeached. You're going to be convicted. It's over. The Democrats, they circle the wagons. They do the exact opposite.
Can I have one more?
They do.
Shot?
The caller wants an analogy still on, Harry.
Yeah. Go ahead, Terry.
Yeah. Is our government that weak that we cannot counter what? I mean, this is blatantly.
Terry, let me clue you in here. I think you know this already. Our government is not weak. Our government is corrupt right now. Big difference. We have the capacity to be very strong on January 20th once again. Our government is not weak. It is corrupt at the highest levels. This is why nothing was brought here. There was so much fruit. I mean, look, they gave 2 techs immunity. Now we find out Cheryl Mills gets immunity, and the FBI allows her to be Clinton's lawyer and attend her interview. Congressman, you have to admit, this is all highly irregular.
Well, irregular doesn't come close to covering it. And, but to answer Terry's question, in order for something to be done, there has to be a bill that is passed the House and the Senate and signed by the president, which is technically possible, virtually impossible. The Senate won't take up what the House passes, and you need 60 votes to even engage in debate. And if for some magical reason one of those type pieces of legislation were to get to the president's desk and he vetoes it, it takes 2/3 to override, which would never happen. So,
can I ask one more serious question?
Real quick. We're running out of time. Real quick, Terry.
Okay. How come George Soros is allowed to function in this country?
I don't know how to answer you. I mean, he's being given leeway by the party in power. They like what he's doing, so they either close their eyes or encourage it. And, there isn't a good answer to that question.
Thank you, Terry. Yeah, I think that's as good as you can do with it. Because of what he does, he's allowed to continue to act. And there are a lot of shaky things going on right now. This next caller, I know for a lifetime. He's a career public safety officer, retired. As we'll just protect the innocent. His first name is Andrew. Andrew, you're on the air with your congressman. Go right ahead.
Harry, how you doing, Congressman? How you doing? I hope both your families are doing great.
Fantastic.
I have two quick questions, and I'm going to hang up and listen to your answer. The Federal Aviation Administration out at Pomona, they got Next Gen, Gen X. What's the progress going on with that, number one? And number two, is there any possibility in regards to the enlightenment of how our veterans are being abused? Is there a possibility that we could possibly get a clinic closer instead of having the fellows get on a shuttle bus to go down to Delaware? I'm going to hang up and I'm going to listen to your answers. And you guys have a great night. Thank you.
Thanks, Andrew. Okay, sure. Congressman.
Well, for Andrew, we have clinics. We have a clinic in Northfield. We have a clinic in Vineland. In fact, the Vineland clinic is going to be dramatically expanded to 10,000-foot state-of-the-art facility, 10,000 square foot state-of-the-art facility, which is being renovated, the building now, and ribbon will be cut by the end of the year. We're pushing for more community-based health services so the veterans do not have to go to Wilmington. I have pushed for the choice for veterans to have to either go to the hospital or doctor of their choice locally or to the VA. And while we haven't gotten that across the board, we have gotten the VA to agree to a pilot program that if any veteran has a physical or psychological hardship, they can make an application to go to the doctor or hospital of their choice. Progress has been slow but somewhat steady. A couple of years ago, if you needed dialysis, you had to go to Wilmington or Philadelphia. You don't have to anymore. And some of the problems that we've experienced, especially at the Northfield Clinic, with understaffing and some other areas have been finally started to be remedied. So it's the mission that will never end. We're making progress. It's too slow from my standpoint, but I think we are able to help more veterans with more community-based health services. So, Andrew, I hope that answers your VA question. The other question about the Next Gen, and there are two areas here, Harry. One is the program itself, Next Generation of Air Traffic Control, which is moving forward, and that's the system that takes us from a radar-based air traffic control to a satellite-based air traffic control, so essentially from voice commands to data transfer. That's been behind schedule, but moving forward, all that validation work is done at our tech center, which is at the Atlantic City International Airport. But I think what Andrew may be referring to is the research park, which has had a lot of fits and starts. It got tangled up with a terrible legal battle, which has just finally been untangled, and I think you will be hearing some very good news in the not-too-distant future about what may be moving forward. I'm very careful about what we're saying is going to happen because we've had so many disappointments in this area, but I think a lot of the obstacles have been removed, and a lot of credit has to go to Dennis Levinson and Atlantic County Board of Freeholders and Howard Kyle for jumping in and salvaging the Atlantic County portion of this, which is really being the main driver.
Congressman, your program always flies by. We're down to 4 minutes. Let's do a lightning round. The recent bombings in New Jersey, New York City, can you share the latest from your spectrum of observation on the Intelligence Committee and your thoughts about what's been going on?
Well, I can't share the latest from the Intelligence Committee, but I can share my thoughts, and this is further evidence that our country is being turned around dramatically, and not in a positive way, but in a negative way, and that there's more homegrown radicalization that, if not directed by ISIS or Al-Qaeda, is being inspired by them. And again, I think this can be pointing back to our wrong policy over the last couple of years. This hits pretty close to home. What I keep saying is that it's a vivid reminder and a stark reminder for all of us that if we see something, we have to say something. But there's far too much of this to be sloughed off as some want to do. That's just the normal. It's the new normal. I don't accept that at all.
Good.
We cannot accept this as the new normal. And what that means is, in the future, and I mean the next administration, is going to have to double down on how we handle these terrorist organizations that, if not directing, or doing the inspiring.
Congressman, this is big news, but I think there's a reason to have caution too, because just because the North Jersey pro groups threw in the towel and are not spending their money because they think they've lost the question to bring North Jersey casinos is still on the ballot. Your thoughts?
Harry, my guess is that this is a ruse, that this is a rope-a-dope move by the group in North Jersey. It's on the ballot. People tend to go into the booth and vote yes because they don't really fully understand it. And I think they want the antis, which are most of us in the South, to put our guard down and to feel that we've won the fight. That would be the worst thing we could do. I think we have to pretend that they're going full bore. I think we have to anticipate that you'll see an announcement in the last 2 or 3 weeks that they've got new polling data and they're going to dump $1 gazillion into the vote yes on the issue. So I don't trust this at all. I don't feel at all relieved in any way, shape, or form. I think this is a rope-a-dope move that we should just double down on our efforts.
Because it could even be worse than having the campaign, is thinking you don't have a campaign. It's like if your opponent drops out, like happened to Levinson, Schroeder still got like 18,000 votes, and he wasn't running for 2 months. So you never take it for granted, even when they say they dropped out, when it's still on the ballot, because it's not off the ballot, it's on the ballot. Tonight, and our coverage will begin right here on WPG, as you know, less than 2 hours from now with the pre-debate show. Your thoughts on Trump versus Clinton, the first debate. Do you buy in to the potential that this could be one of the most consequential first debates in American history?
I do. I think that the national polling and in the battleground states, everything is almost within the margin of error, that people tuning in, and it's interesting that this will be estimates of maybe 100 million people, which is a pretty large number by anybody's standard.
It's a record.
Are going to be, a lot of people looking in have made up their mind, but if you have one or the other candidate, in my view, who really stumbles, I think you'll see people changing their minds. This will either further strengthen Mr. Trump's position, or if he's not careful in how he handles himself, this could hurt him badly. And the same is true with Mrs. Clinton. She's got a lot to answer for, and if Mr. Trump handles this right, I think Mrs. Clinton will have a very hard time explaining some of these things which she's been able to slip away from. And this is 90 minutes. This is no commercial interruption. This is pretty big deal, I think.
Final minute, your thoughts about the FBI. You mentioned these Friday dumps. They're very, very political looking in nature. More Hillary emails. Now we know the president, who told us he never knew she had an email private server until he found out from the media, had been emailing her from a phony screen name. I think this, if anybody starts to care, this stuff is piling up, Congressman. Final minute.
Well, it is piling up, and makes you angry and it makes you frustrated, because what can we do at this point? If you have an attorney general who isn't willing to look at this for what it is, and the attorney general is in charge of the FBI, so you've got to only assume that the attorney general is going to protect the person who appointed her, i.e. the president, and that the attorney general will not allow the FBI to do their job. And this complicates it for a long time to come, because the FBI was viewed as truly professional, and I think this has tainted them and damaged them for, I don't want to say beyond repair, but certainly damaged them tremendously.
Congressman, what an eventful evening we've had.
It's been great, Harry, as usual.
Thank you for your leadership. I love doing the program with you. Congressman LoBiondo will be back in October. We'll get you the date in the very near future. Be safe, be well, and we'll talk to you next time, Congressman. Have a great night. Enjoy the debate.
Okay. Thanks, Harry.
You're welcome,
Bye.
sir.